Welcome to the Save Par Golf Podcast. We have a special guest today. Actually, it's nighttime where he's at. We have Jordan with ODIN Golf. Welcome to the podcast, Jordan.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you are from Berlin, Germany. Is that correct?
I'm down and live from Berlin. I grew up in the States, but I've lived here for many years. And yeah, it's been fun. We can get into it about the whole ODIN stuff and Save Par, but yeah, it's been fun out here, and I had to make it here even if it's late.
Fun fact: I took German in middle school and retained none of it.
So do you speak German then too? Being out there, is it?
It's such a hard language. I've lived here 8 years, and it's survival German. It's basically ordering food, maybe a couple of pickup lines here and there, but it's a hard one.
I can count to 10, and that's about it.
I mean, that'll get you pretty far here.
Yeah, if you order, if you're going to try to order, 5-6 drinks, he knows how to, pick that up. Would be a problem.
Or just order off like a menu. I just want number 5.
There, yeah, exactly.
They have everything on their menus numbered here, so that will get you pretty decent stuff.
There you go. So if we ever make our way out there, we got someone to help us out too.
I can count to 10. We're golden.
Yeah.
So ODIN Golf, said I stumbled across your Instagram page. Thought it was really cool. Loved the look of the golf balls. What's kind of the background behind ODIN Golf?
So there's 4 of us founders. We're all based in Berlin, and all of us have kind of tech backgrounds. We worked in various kind of tech companies in Berlin, throughout Europe, and then through the US as well. And then we happen to be complete golf nuts. So our respite from work over the many years has been basically on the track, cold hats, music, hitting nukes, all of the above and more.
Absolutely.
And we literally just started. We're very fresh into the company. So about 9 months ago, the 4 of us were playing, and we're a mix of handicaps. So myself, I play between a 12 and a 14, and then the other guys are kind of around 18s or 20s, kind of around there. So we're just kind of, hit the track, have some fun, have a couple pops. Don't take it too seriously. We're all competitive people, but we're just out there to have fun. So we were on the track about 9 months ago, and we all looked at each other, and we're losing balls, and we're not having a great round. And we just looked at each other and we said, well, why aren't we losing our own golf balls? Like, why are we losing golf balls of brands that in some cases are 100 years old? They're old, they're stuffy, and they don't speak to us being kind of late 20s through 30s and kind of that range. And that kind of kicked off basically the seed crystal, the idea for ODIN of kind of incubating and creating our own golf balls. And it turned into this completely really ambitious, massive vision. And the vision for us simply is just to own the entire golf experience. And we, as you guys know, the golf landscape there's everything under the sun you can think of. There's apparel, there's balls, there's clubs, there's AI swing assistants, there's custom golf carts. And we said, look, okay, this is such an exciting ecosystem. There's a lot of these challenger brands that are basically chopping at the heels of all, the Titleist and Callaway and, the kind of
big name brands. Yeah.
The big name brands that we all grew up playing. And we said, look, okay, if we're going to do the damn thing here, like, we got to put our own flair on it. And how can we kind of make this a little bit different, zig a little bit while others are zagging, but also build a massive business owning the entire golf experience globally. So we said, look, we want this. Golf traditionally, and this is especially true in Germany, it's very much behind the US in that it's still very elitist, very stuffy. In fact, here they require people, most courses require you to have a license that you basically have to take a test, like a driver's test, to be able to play on the course. And And
Really?
for the three of us who grew up, in the US where it's like anyone can play, right? It's, it was completely odd moving here and seeing that.
That is strange. So is that if you're like using, like trying to drive like a golf cart, or is that like, even if you're like walking on a course, you still need to have some sort of license just to even?
If you want to pick up a club, grab some tools and hit the track, in most cases, there are a few exceptions of courses that will allow you to play, but most of them require a license. That's
interesting. I never knew that. That's it's very true. Like you said, very traditional, with some of the stuff that we've like, so like we talked about numerous times with like the sweatshirts and like the collars, everything you need at certain country clubs require, of course, the collared shirts and the polos and all that. And that's the cool thing about golf. I feel like it's heading in the right direction as far as transitioning into the cool looking shoes, the custom shoes, you could wear a sweatshirt on the course. If
golf itself is evolving and becoming younger in a sense, right? We're seeing pro athletes wear joggers when we're playing golf.
Joggers are comfy, so I'm all about the joggers.
Right, we're talking about Ricky, and he wore the high top Pumas, and who was it? Rory who wore the hoodie.
Yep, Rory and Justin Thomas, I think too. But yeah,
we're seeing golf progressively get younger, and all of these country clubs are progressively not getting younger, which is interesting. If you want to grow the game, X, Y, and Z, you'd think they would have some kind of leeway. That license is weird because I don't think I'd ever pass it, but it's definitely different.
Yeah, it is different. Well, I will say, I think you need, what's the highest handicap you can get? Is it like a 50 or something? You basically need. I mean,
hopefully we don't get to that point, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not there yet.
Yeah. So it's I think pretty much you just need a heartbeat and not screw up the course and tear it up. And I think you're good, but it's just the principle of that's just like another barrier that someone would need to go through. And then the second thing here, especially, that is the case with golf. Like I remember when I first moved here, and I told people that I golfed, and they looked at me funny and they said, well, you're not 65 years old. And I said, well, what do you mean? They said, well, like my parents play golf, or like you do that when you're retired here. Like you don't do that as a young whippersnapper like yourself.
Sure.
And it was these things. Germany traditionally, I think, is a little bit behind in the US, and that, the risk factor is very different here. They want to see kind of proven models, and, it's just a different culture. And there's a lot of awesome things about the culture, and every place has pros and cons. So for us, we're actually, our team split. Some of us are based in Berlin, and then the rest of us are in Austin and then in California. And so we're very focused on the US, and we bounce back and forth. I was just there for a couple months on our road show. We just launched our new X Ball, which is super cool. So it's luckily it's kind of really easy to tap into that and have presence in both places. But it is, like you guys were saying, with the hoodies and kind of these more eclectic polos and these new kind of these threads that are coming out. Also, like, for example, the streetwear crossover coming onto the course. It's awesome to see. We're really excited because we're part of that wave, and we kind of want to build part of that wave. You guys growing up playing, what was kind of the quintessential outfit that you guys would have?
For a long time, I just wore shorts, and it's like a polo. I'm a little bit different, to where I took lessons when I was younger and then just didn't play for a long time because I didn't have any friends who played golf. So I was kind of like, oh, well, I haven't played in a long time, blah, blah, blah. But then as it started going, it was like, just a nice pair of shorts, polo. And now it's like starting to evolve into my own thing where I'll wear like my favorite socks are Stance. So I like some of the colors from Stance. I wear the Puma RSGs, so it's basically a sneaker.
Yeah.
And then and then it's like a fun quarter zip if it's cold or rainy like it is today. But my style is like it's like a mix of like your classic golf with a little bit of my flair to it. Whether it's like the fun hat or my hair or whatever it is, I don't really feel like I'm wearing like knee highs and knickers anymore. Or
and I got kind of into it where when Ricky really kind of was emerging, like with all the orange and all that, and that was kind of like my style. I loved it. I'm like, I'm young, he's young, and he's definitely got this great like following behind him. Because it's not just his style, but just the way he is, his personality has always been known to be a great guy that signs all autographs and things. So it was like, that really kind of sparked it. I'm like, I kind of like that style as well. But I will say, like, back then, you buy those pants or polos, you'd get a lot more like looks or like, what is this guy wearing back then? Versus now it's like, dude, I love that polo. Where'd you get it? So you can definitely tell that there has been a transition or a change, even from like when he first started wearing those crazy polos and, with the long hair and all that. So said we talked about earlier, it's definitely moving in the right direction, but I think that, it's the look good, play good, and why not look good in something that you are comfortable in, that it might not be that traditional golf polo and khaki pants or whatever. So.
Yeah. And I think with any sort of community or just way of doing things, there's always kind of a late adopter laggard element to something. And I think to an extent that probably, like golf especially, I think that's very age specific. Not that we have anything against 45 plus or 65 plus.
Yeah, Derek.
It's when
not there yet.
Yeah, we're not
nowhere near. Right. I'm not nowhere near the 40s yet. Okay.
Yeah, we're we still got some time to make hay, but exactly. It's I wouldn't expect, and we see this with ODIN, is we wouldn't expect people in those age groups to change their behavior. They may be interested and say, oh, this is cool and interesting, but someone like that is probably not going to look at Ricky like you and say, hey, I'm going to just change my wardrobe and start rocking some orange knickers. Right. They grew up just ingrained in kind of the old guard of golf. Right.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you. Well, this might be a dumb question for you, but where did the name come from? What is it? Is there like a certain meaning behind ODIN Golf?
So part of the harkening back to what I was saying before when we started out, we wanted something that was bold, eclectic, a bit in your face, a bit cheeky, and hence the tagline "Go balls out always." And
I love that. Yeah.
So that kind of tells you where we were kind of coming at this and the angle. So Odin is the Nordic god of wisdom, and he's actually many different things, but that's kind of the main tagline for him. And there's been some Avenger crossover, but we have 2 Germans on our teams and actually 1 Brit as part of the founding team. And we said, well, shit, we might as well pay homage to the motherland here. What's kind of a strong name that would look great on a golf ball and could fit that tagline? And we said, well, ODIN kind of fits the bill there.
I love that. That's very cool. I love the kind of the little slogan there too. The number 1 ball you can afford to lose. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think for us, one of the kind of the vibes of what we wanted it to be is come one, come all. Cause I think it's said in another way, one of the big pains that we want to solve with ODIN is flipping the traditional model on its head, if you will, is to say, hey, we're making golf more accessible. And there's a lot of these companies like ourselves that you guys have seen that are very eclectic and new and challenging kind of the status quo of golf, who are basically solving the same thing of, we want this to be accessible to everyone. And I think the other big trend that we saw in Wave is that a lot of people picked up a club during the pandemic because it was one of the few things that people could do that was some sort of active other than running and maybe doing some outdoor CrossFit. It was, hey, like my friends are playing, like, shit, well, I'll pick up a club. Like, cool. Like maybe I'm a skateboarder, or I'm a surfer, or I'm a baseball player, whatever it is, but it's people, it just like opened up the gates, which is super awesome. And that's one of the reasons why we got so excited.
You kind of read my mind there. Before we hopped on here, that was one of the questions that we were kind of just talking about. I was like, I'm curious to know if where you're at, if you've actually, with the lockdown, how everything's kind of been handled. And not only that, obviously we're not trying to get into anything political here, but if like where we're at in Minnesota here was probably the most.
Golf courses were pretty open.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Apologize, I got my dog here. But yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, so good.
But yeah, I mean, I think people that have never played golf picked up a club and started playing golf, which is very cool. I mean, again, in Minnesota, we do have a lot of people playing golf. So there are challenges because golf can be slow, which is another huge topic, which we can chat about later, but the pace of play and all that. But yeah, growing the game is what we're all about. And that's kind of the whole reason behind Safe Park Golf and why we're having you on the podcast. We found a company that looked very cool and has something that I think has great potential, and we're all about growing the game of golf. So,
and that we feel, at the end of the day, the core values between ODIN and Safe are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, golf is for everybody. You can just pick up and club and play. You don't have to, be a 10-year golfer you don't have to be playing for 10 years or whatever. You don't have to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Just go out there, have fun, drink some beers with some buddies if you're of age, of course. And if you're not, well.
Yeah. but is that something that you've is that kind of what you had seen, in Berlin as well? Has that been kind of the case where you're seeing a lot more people pick up the club and during lockdown? I don't know if you guys had lockdowns there too. I'm sure you probably have. We've had a few.
Yeah, we definitely had our fair share of lockdowns. And I think it was, for the most part, it was a little bit behind over here than the US with rollouts of different things and lockdowns and such. And I know the US is very specific on the region of how things were done. With golf, there were some restrictions. For example, like one person to a cart, like mid-pandemic, people could still play, or you could only go two at a time, and those sort of rules.
Okay, I did kind of pretty standard. Like that's kind of, we had that too. Did you have anywhere you had the plastic in between the two seats? Or you either had to live with that person, or if you were just a friend, you actually had to have two separate carts. But for a while, they even had plastic in between the golf carts at some courses here. I don't know if that's something that was.
I never saw that here.
Yeah, Francis Gross, they had that. It was kind of weird because they like bungeed the plastic, so it was like thick plastic, but like if you took too much of a hard turn left or right,
would it swing?
No, like the bungee and the plastic would like almost get wrapped up in the steering wheel, and it just was just a complete inconvenience. And I mean, I see what they were trying to do, but
it's the thought that counts.
Yeah. Do you have any?
I was just thinking how that works in practice and how they attach that damn thing, but I mean,
I was surprised how they made it work. It was weird.
Yeah, shit. I didn't see any sort of plastic divider inside of golf cart, although that would have been kind of funny to watch. But it was basically one to a cart, and then it went to two to a cart, and then same household. There were the household rules, but it was one thing I did notice here, at least over the past couple of years, is that I have noticed a lot more younger people picking up clubs and going to the range, not necessarily playing, but going to the range and trying stuff out. And Berlin is such an eclectic city. It has like this mix of music and art, and there's tech, and there's a blue collar, and there's banking, and it all comes together in tandem. Okay. And it has, I don't know if you guys know about the history of the city. Prior to 89, they had the DDR era where they had the Berlin Wall up, and so they had all that. But through the 90s and the 2000s, and even today, it still has this grunge to it. Like even in really, really safe areas, you see graffiti on buildings. And I think that's kind of you see that a lot in Europe. It not necessarily means it's a bad area. It's just kind of how people express themselves and how people view graffiti. But I noticed that the younger people that have gone to the course are dressed very hipster like they're wearing dad caps backwards and maybe they're wearing jeans jackets or maybe they're wearing jeans and they're wearing sneaks. So
Not your typical, in quote to air quotes, your typical golf attire, if you know.
You were going to say etiquette.
Yeah, I was going to use the wrong word there for a second, but yeah, it's you're like, oh, okay, this is they're still hitting these golf balls and wanting to learn, but they're not wearing that, you know, cliched outfit that most people you would think would be wearing.
Wow. Yeah, and here's the thing about the etiquette, and I'm sure you guys have your take on kind of general etiquette on the course. I think one thing that I've noticed here, and a lot of things aren't sticking points for me on the course, or a couple of things, but the big thing for me is just the general cognizance and awareness, and that fits into the pace of play. And I have noticed that newer people that have come to the course here that, whether you're playing behind them or you're playing in front of them and they're hitting India, is the pace of play and the general cognizance of like, hey, if I'm having a shitty round, like that's like, we always have those, every so often.
Unfortunately, we have a more than better round or good rounds, right?
Yeah. But keep things up, just be aware that, hey, there's a group behind you and there's a pile up, and, keep it up, and maybe don't reload if you don't have to, that kind of thing. Or I've seen a couple times, like people, like I hit a ball into the fairway and someone else is playing into the fairway and they pick the ball up, or they hit your ball. And it's just, little stuff like that. And I think there are some basic things. And I think this is kind of what SAPAR and what we're doing to an extent is there's some education also involved of like, here are the basic things of golf, not being sticklers about it, but like, here are some things to kind of get you through the round that, and also makes it more fun too, to an extent, right?
Exactly. You should also have like a instruction list for beginners, like in
Golf for Dummies.
Golf for Dummies in the golf cart.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and again, I think that's one of the stigmas that golf has had, is it's just like such a stickler, rule-oriented game that's just incredibly stuffy and militant to an extent. But I think part of there are elements of the game and the rules of the game. Another one is fixing the ball marks, which I know there's many camps on this one, but it's just, it's like a general courtesy thing. Like, hey, if you're dancing on a par 3, hit the putt, obviously, you better hit the bird, but, right, fix the ball mark too. Right.
Yeah. That I would say. So like you said, pace of play is probably the number one issue, I think. I mean, and I don't even I would say price. Because price is, I think, a huge problem for a lot of younger kids. I mean, you have a couple. I mean, it's just like you go to a movie or anything. Everything is so expensive nowadays that it's going to cost you $120 to go to a movie with 3 kids, and you know what I mean.
Popcorn, drink.
Yeah, and it's kind of that same sense is that you go play around a golf with your kid or 2 kids, and it's a little bit cheaper, but still, it's expensive depending on where you're playing, and you're going to pay to play at a decent course. And I'm saying like a decent course, it's not cheap.
No, even like an executive, some of those, you're playing 9 holes. Some of those are still like $25-$30,
which is crazy,
which is a lot for 9.
But I would say price, pace of play. And then like you said, golf is, no one's trying to be sticklers here, but really we're just trying to take care of what we want to continue to use the course and play this course. And those are just something that you should do.
I'm always curious to know how much of the price goes back into the course. You know what I mean? Like whether it's maintenance or improving or even changing it. Now, how much of your, $120 goes into the golf course?
That's a good
question. That's a really interesting. So part of what we're doing with ODIN is selling into, our balls are sold at pro shops, so we get to know the different courses and how they're run and operated. So there are many different, I think, methods for courses. One thing we notice is, for example, there's a lot of courses in California that are owned by these kind of real estate management companies, but they're managed privately by like a single owner or a couple owners. And when we talk with a lot of these courses, especially in areas that are heavily populated with golfers. And like, for example, one in San Diego that we went and visited, it was just in horrible shape. Like, but the tee sheet was full completely. And when we were talking with the marshals and the people working there, they just said, yeah, it's like they just don't want to put any, like, this course needs like $1 or $2 million to put in, and just need to fix the greens and the fairways. And the other thing that California has, for example, is a massive drought. So that doesn't help a golf course at all. But I think it's what you're saying is, kind of what you're speaking to is you want it to be kind of reinvested into the course. And I think it's not a one size fits all. There are really nice courses in the US, and I'm sure there are great courses in Minnesota too. But the ones we've talked with, they struggled to kind of put it back in because, there's overhead running a course. There's, the general real estate, you have to pay your employees, keep the golf carts up, all that stuff. Right.
Yeah, I was out in Phoenix actually not too long ago and played out there. Just a quick little trip, but we played a few rounds, and that same kind of thing. Like, you go to Golf Now and, you see the reviews, and I was like, okay, it's got a really good review. It's cheap. And then we went out there, and now I realize why we paid $25 with a cart for this. And again, it's Phoenix, Arizona. So
it's hot.
It's hot. And the same thing, the drought, it's very dry out there, obviously. And so, but it's just funny how you could see $25, and most people that are going to play in the afternoon are more or less tourists, because most people that are there playing early in the morning, beating that heat. But it was, to play a course that was, we played TPC Champions course for $65 hotel.
Nice.
So it wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
Actually a really good deal. But then we played this other course, paid $25, and, you look at some of the reviews and say, okay, hopefully these reviews aren't just like paid like reviews, because we got there and it was like the greens were absolutely terrible. And then on top of that, it was that weight, we played it kind of fairly early in the morning. It was like mid-morning, but I mean, it was like a 4.5, almost 5 hour round, which, you're playing that course and the weight. It was just like a double whammy. It was not fun. And you think about all the people that are waiting ahead of you, and they're probably kind of thinking the same thing. And it's like, that's where the price was obviously cheap, but it's like, okay, what do you do on that situation? I mean, the price is cheap for a reason, clearly, but then again, now you're waiting 4.5, 5 hours. And again, nobody really wants to play a 4.5, 5 hour round of golf. You're waiting,
especially at 2 p.m. at Phoenix when it was like 110.
Yeah, it was about 115. And I think I must've had, I don't know how much water. That is a nice thing. They do, fly around quite a bit, giving you cups of ice and water, but so you don't really drink out in the course at that time because you get so dehydrated. So you save that for after the fact, but it was not really enjoyable. The trip was fun, but that round was just brutal. And it's like, I don't think that really grows the game. I think it really hurts the game. And that was one of my takeaways. And again, it's not necessarily the course's fault, but you can tell that some of these premium courses really do a really good job of knowing how to manage the course and manage the tee times and push people along. Because you don't want to, everyone's paying for the most part the same price. I know you can get some deals on certain websites and apps, but for the most part, everyone's paying the same price. So there's that pushback. Well, I just paid the same amount, and why should I? You know what I mean? So like there is that. But if we can somehow kind of eliminate the long pace of play, I'm not really an expert on that, but I think that definitely pushes people away from going to certain golf courses. I mean, that's happened to me several times. Like, I'd almost rather pay a little bit more and play a nice course and cruise through it than pay $20, $30 less and have to wait for 4.5 hours.
Definitely. Do you guys do regular golf trips every year like that?
Not really.
I'm not invited.
He wasn't invited.
I should specify. I've never been.
Oh,
invited.
man.
Well, for the record, I've only really been on 2 other golf trips in the last year.
For the record, that's 2 more than I've ever been on.
Well, we'll definitely be planning a trip, but it was with my 2 brothers and another guy. And honestly, I talked about it on the previous podcast, but it was $205 for a round trip, hotel, airfare, everything. And we stayed at a golf resort. So we played different golf courses, but it was a Friday to Monday. So, I mean, it was like hard to pass up. Granted, it was in Phoenix and it was 115, but for $205 with airfare, direct flights both ways, it was a steal.
Oh, yeah. Where'd you guys stay?
So we stayed at the Legacy Golf Resort. And the sad thing is the resort was fantastic, but we actually didn't even play at the golf resort. We had to cut it short. So we didn't get to play it. That we kind of were planning to play it at the last day so we didn't have to go around. But we played the TPC and then two other courses. One was the Phoenix. It's a shorter course, but it was a fun course. And then the last one, I'm drawing a blank. It was so bad that I forgot the name. But
that was a $25 one.
That was a $25 one. Yeah, that was just a terrible experience all around. But again, I can't really complain paying $205 and getting a trip, golf trip with the boys. It was fantastic. So I know I kind of talked to you a little bit previously, but our goal or our plan is just to get a big tournament next year. So we're trying to get influencers and just some other people put a big tournament out next summer in June. So that's kind of our plan. We still got a lot in the works, but we're kind of making strides to getting that taken care of. The hard part is we have several courses that we really want, and two of them are kind of far away, not far away, but they're like a 40 to an hour. And it's like, it just seems too far because I'm kind of downtown Minneapolis, and we're going to kind of host a kind of an after party afterwards downtown. So my thought was not to have a whole day of tournament golfing and people boozing and then have to somehow figure out how to get an hour back. We're thinking about a bus, but it's like, I just don't know if that would even really be. So we got a lot of, we're kind of in the mix, but again, we want to grow the game. We want to get other brands out there. That's kind of our whole idea. And, being that we have kind of a decent following, it's awesome to connect with different influencers and golfers all over the world, which is pretty incredible. Sorry about that. I said my dog is playing with her toy. We have a little toy. I have a little toy poodle. Is over a year, so she's playing around. So I apologize. But
nice.
But that's kind of the whole purpose, is to kind of get everyone together and help grow the game, and everyone has kind of their own style, but. Again, it's something I know we talked about before, that love to have you a part of it. And I know we're still, like I said, kind of a long ways out, but I'm kind of like to plan way ahead. So.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. And we definitely want to be a part of it. We're excited. And I think those things for sure are a lot of work and very detailed. So just let us know if we can support in any way. How are the courses in Minnesota actually?
They're pretty nice. It's like anywhere though. Like you get a couple duds here and there, but generally, around Minneapolis, they're pretty nice. You go a little out of Minneapolis, they're pretty nice. If you go way out of Minneapolis, they're really nice.
Yeah, it kind of depends on where you're at. Like, do you have a lot of like private courses, or do you have a lot of? Would you say they're more public courses probably, or?
So there are, it's a mix. I think it's probably more on the private side here, especially. But yeah, the reason why I ask is like where you guys play, munis or like, where you guys play basically.
Most of them are munis. Yeah. We play, like being that I live downtown, we play a lot of the Minneapolis or St. Paul golf courses, and for being city owned, there's actually a few of them that are in pretty decent shape, and they are fairly competitive in price. So it's not terrible. But then again, it depends on how far you kind of venture off, because you can find some really nice courses.
Yeah, there are some hidden gems here if you know where to look.
Yeah. And I mean, he's got a place cabin up north.
Yeah, way
there's
up north.
They're probably in the top 5 courses, public courses in the state of Minnesota. So they're like really beautiful courses. So yeah, you can kind of find some. And then we, of course, we have hosted the Ryder Cup with the Hazeltine, which is probably 30 minutes from here, 35 minutes.
And then we have the 3M Open at TPC Twin Cities down here.
Yeah.
That's
sick.
Yeah,
Nice.
so
That's
Minnesota is definitely. I mean, we're bordered next to Wisconsin,
which we don't talk about.
which we're not a big fans, and we're big football Vikings fans here. So they're Packer fans, but but obviously the Ryder Cup is being hosted in Whistling Straits this year. So Wisconsin definitely has some. That's the one thing I will say, that they have some amazing golf courses, beautiful tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have that kind of that sneaky good. We do have some good courses, and again, there's now that the tournament was the 3M Open, but it was a senior open.
It was like the 3M Championship or something. Now it's the Open, right?
Yeah. So it used to be a senior tour, and then they moved that to, I believe, Sioux Falls, and then now we picked up the 3M Open, which has been
3 years now.
3 years, yeah. So we are starting to get a little bit more publicity on the PGA side in Minnesota, which is cool to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It sounds like a great golf community, and I think for you guys, incubating a tournament, getting people to come as a destination and just kind of growing the community, I think is awesome, and it seems like a great place to do it too.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a true fact or not, but I've heard that Minnesota has the most golfers per capita in the country. So like, that's where we run into, I think, where we get a little bit more impatient, where the pace of play gets a little long because there's so many people that are, and we're also on a kind of a shortened time period because we have winter and fall. And so sometimes it
snows like 6 months out of the year. And
so really it's weather dependent as well. And then, once the snow starts to melt, everyone's ready to rock and roll and everyone's booking tee time. So it's a great place to live. We love it here. And the change of seasons are fantastic.
Like as soon as it hits like 45 or 50, people are like, "Oh, I gotta go get my clubs," and you're just like, "Dude, there's still snow on the ground." But people here, it's like, doesn't matter, rain or shine, they're out there. It could be 50-mile-an-hour howling winds, they're still out there.
Yeah, we have some troopers out here that will literally like.
It's a different kind of golf community versus like Phoenix or Florida, where it's generally like a retirement type state.
Yeah.
We got some.
Yeah, definitely. Have you? I imagine you guys have played in the snow before.
Well, I've gotten caught in the snow a few times. Like it didn't anticipate it to be snowing outside, but yeah, that's happened. Like I said, not the average weekend warrior where you're bundled up wearing like long johns and pants and sweatshirt, jacket, and you're
like double gloved up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we'll do whatever it takes to get out there and hit the ball. I said you get so impatient from waiting for so long that
I said, whenever it hits like 50 degrees, you're like, I got the itch.
Yeah.
Right.
There is some snow on the ground. Yeah. There was a year, it's probably about gotta be like 10 years now, but we had a really mild winter, surprisingly. And I think I golfed on Christmas Eve. It was like 8 or 9 years ago. And it was crazy. It was like, it was like a stretch where like it didn't snow and it was like 55, 60 degrees out. I'm like, and so many people were out there, which is very rare in Minnesota. I mean, it snows in October, so we've had pretty mild winters last
year was kind of cold.
It was cold, but we didn't have like the snow wise. It was pretty mild, but it was still cold as can be. So is that kind of where you're at too? Are you pretty limited on your golf as far as throughout the winter months or the year?
It is similar to you guys in that there is season separation, and growing up in California where you could golf year round, so it was definitely hard to grasp moving here and saying, well, like, yeah, it's snowing, but I still want to get out. It's December, like I'm used to playing in December, and I guess when it is snowing, I've been out to play a bunch of times when it's snowed, and it's not like you're going out there and you're going to have a round. You're just out there to have some fun and hit the sticks and stuff.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing is, it's like hitting on granite. Like the ground is, it's like you're at a bowling alley, and the ball just rolls, right?
It doesn't stop. Yeah, you could drive the green.
Oh, completely.
50-yard par 4, and you could just Bryson DeChambeau it, no problem.
Oh yeah, definitely. Or like you hit a great shot, and you're about to be dancing, and then it's like on the next tee box.
Yep, it takes a 30-foot high bounce, and yeah, exactly. You're in the next tee box.
Right.
I've done that a few times. Typically I'll like towards the very end of the year, I like to play just some of the par threes or executive courses, like you said, just to kind of get your swings in.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. So when you guys play over the summer, for example, like what does your course experience look like? Are you playing music? Are you having cold hats? Are you like what does that look like for you guys?
So I'm not allowed to drive. So Derek drives, and then I get control of everything else.
Yeah, so we play some music. We're pretty laid back. So if we play like a par three, we'll walk and we'll play some music on the phone.
Shorts, t-shirts.
Shorts and a t-shirt on the par threes for sure, hat backwards or whatever it might be. And then on any like the 18 hole course that we play, we normally have like we have like we're couple different Bluetooth speakers too that we'll crank some tunes out there. I mean, we normally, like if we get paired up with, if it's not four of us or something, if we get paired up with someone, we always kind of just ask, say, hey, do you mind if we play some music? Pretty like laid back with it and try to be,
still have the proper etiquette, but still have our fun, because at the end of the day, we only have like 3, 4, 5 months out of the year to, legitimately play golf, so you want to enjoy it. So why would you play in silence? I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm fine either way, but I think the music is definitely kind of taken, you see it a lot more. I used to see it a lot in like tournament play, like just like, fun scrambles, but now it's like everyone, like, I don't know how many times I've played golf and I can hear music, not where it's like annoying, but it's nice to like kind of hear that other people also
jamming out, having fun, like I think it's different. Like if it's like, there's a time and place for everything, right? So obviously if it's like 9 a.m. and you come and you're just blasting like Pop Smoke or whatever, you probably shouldn't do that. However, I definitely do that, and I'm guilty of that. But you have to be respectful of, if it's crowded, like we were talking to other people around you. I think there's a time and place where you kind of, keep it quiet, keep it down a little bit. There was like a couple of times where I've been like talked to. They're like, hey, you should like turn it down. And I'm like, hey, I'm having fun. Like, let me be. Let me live my life. I'm in my 20s.
How about you?
Definitely.
You're pretty laid back where you're at. You like to jam out with the music then? And
so here, people definitely don't play music. They don't drink on the course. I mean, I have seen people maybe carry beers. There's no koozies in sights, and that's one of the things I'm joking about with the ODIN crew here is we want to pioneer koozies in Germany.
Koozies are sick.
Yeah. So to piggyback off of that though, so do you guys not have like cart girls then or beverage carts that drive around, or is that something that is common there or uncommon?
Not particularly common. On occasion, you'll see the marshal driving around who'll have like a little cooler and like, hey, do you want a water or something? And
interesting.
It's very rare. I've yet to see it here. It gets back to what I was saying before is that I think here it's still
just a little bit, not behind, but a little bit, kind of a little bit in a way.
Man, it must suck like spending all day at work thinking, man, I'm ready for the cart girl. And then it's like an old Gordon dude. Like, man.
Yeah, we don't have any beer here, but I can get you a water.
I can get you a water. And I'm just like,
I know. Yeah. I mean, there's many ways to stay hydrated, but that's not one of them. What I'm looking for.
That's not our favorite way.
I'm looking for some swing lube. So I think it's just, again, just the demographic. And I think people here are just like, okay, we're going to be buttoned up on the course. And oh yeah, like Germans drink their beers and they'll have their schnitzel after, and they'll have their cowboy killers and stuff. But
they know how to party.
They want to be kind of crisp and buttoned up on the course, and it's very different than what we're talking about here. But I'll still put my phone in my bag and play. I'll get some looks sometimes when I'm just like, well, sue me. Exactly. Who gives a fuck, man? Like, come on. Like I want to play some yacht rock here. I want some Hall and Oates, right?
There you go.
Backdrops for the bomb. So it's it's every culture is different, and that's something that I've seen. But it's a fun culture, but on the course, it's a bit behind, I'd say.
So just to kind of transition, I know so we talked about the Ryder Cup that's going to be starting here this week.
Well, I want to talk about
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So like we were talking about growing the game and everything, about how like affordable golf courses could be. I think a big step would be like making premium golf balls affordable. And you guys, I think, do a really good job. Per dozen, they're like 30, $40, somewhere, even some are 20. So the price range is really good. How do you guys keep the cost down for, the consumers, the new guys just hopping in, don't want to buy like a cheap ball, but not like a Titleist golf ball? What sets you guys apart?
Yeah, I think the premium for a better price, I think, is not a particularly new angle. And I think for us, this is a kind of a brand or just a lifestyle that people want to be a part of. And we have kind of this ball that we launched, the ODIN X ball, which you mentioned, which is $19.99. And it's a 3-piece ball. And that's like a tailor-made Project A Callaway Super Hot, kind of for mid to high handicappers, a really like a damn good ball that's not going to break your wallet, as we say in marketing speak on our website.
Yeah, that's a really good price for like in comparison to those two golf balls, because I've hit those Project 8 balls and the TaylorMades, those are nice.
Yeah, they're great. Great quality. Good price, of course. And then we have our tour level balls coming out. Those are the kind of the darker boxes that you guys saw. Those are $39.99. Those are like Pro V1s and TP5. So we don't want to be pigeonholed in one. We want to be able to, again, come one, come all, and we do want to be able to serve that demographic. But I think the thesis that we had is, I think 85% or 90% of the market doesn't really know the difference of the ball. They're just, they want to go out, they want to have fun. Yes, maybe there's a part of that want to have a performance ball. But they, like you guys mentioned, like the price is a big factor and clubs is another one, and green fees. But the balls, we felt like, hey, we wanted this to be easy to get into, but also it makes your course experience great. Like, we're not going to sell you rocks, for the sake of getting a cheaper ball. Like we want it to be like freaking good,
quality, but also at a really good price.
Yeah, definitely. And we kind of make it work from, the business sense and then also the consumer sense. And that's kind of how we run things and how we want it to be. Building for ourselves is kind of the first thing we started with, and then looking at the different kind of target personas that we're going for. Like you have, like you mentioned, Derek, the weekend warrior muni player. Yep. Who's wearing Dickies and high white socks, a Hawaiian shirt, maybe a Gar, maybe a Rita.
Kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, kind of like us. And then there's, the sticks. Well, they want a good ball. Like they're playing Pro V1Xs and that's part of the demographic, or, part of the golf ecosystem, one demographic, but it's not everyone. So that's kind of the other thing that we looked at is, hey, what are the different segments, and then how can we provide value to them? In this case, it happens to be a golf ball. It could be a hat. It could be, some sort of technology. It could be a club. Could be a drink. Like whatever it is, you're providing value to that specific person in whatever setting they're in, right?
Absolutely. So do you, I know you'd mentioned earlier that you were in, you have some of the golf balls, some, the pro shops courses. Are you trying to promote or push towards like your bigger golf, stores, like a Golf Galaxy here or Golfsmith or, some of those type of stores, or are you really trying to kind of go to the pro shops and then try to push more like direct right to the consumer?
Yeah, we definitely, we have an online component, and then we have kind of what we call an offline component, and that's basically, with the pro shops. And I think one thing that when we started out and looked at kind of how golfers buy things, how they consume things, what do they look for when they buy things? It's a very, the great example you guys gave is the Ricky Fowler example. It's a very social proofed community and game, like, hey, what are you wearing, or what are you playing, or what are you drinking, or what music you listening to, what are you jamming to? It's golfers in general are hungry for new gear, they're hungry for new stuff. They want to play what their friends are playing, or the tour players are playing, or cool stuff that they see,
Yep.
in online or on Instagram, or in this case in a pro shop. So one of the things we wanted to do is say, look, for us to kind of meet the customer where she's at or where he's at. In this case, everyone needs to check in and pay for their green fee in the pro shop. Getting into that builds kind of the social proofing, and also from a quality standpoint to say, look, hey, here's an ODIN box. I'm at the, Hazeltine or whatever. I'm at the course and I see an ODIN box in here, like, oh, this looks great. And it's probably, performs well. It's at a great price point, and like, hey, I need darts. Like, that's something that every golfer needs. So that was kind of the approach. We said, look, let's meet the customer where they're at the watering hole. In this case, the watering hole is the pro shop, and then give them the value of, hey, I can reload later online if I want on odingolf.com, or, down the line, like you mentioned, Derek, with the Golf Galaxy or PGA Superstore, which, I'm sure we'll get in at some point, but we wanted to kind of do grassroots, community driven in kind of how we do things, and then, provide value around that.
Yeah, I like that take. I like how you kind of explain that. That's awesome. The appearance on the box itself too. I mean, again, it's got that kind of that catchy look,
everything like the box colors look good. Just, I mean, the ball is simple and it's not anything
nice.
Crazy. I think some brands try to do too much, like some of like the stuff Vice puts out where it's like 14 different colors and then it's paint splatter and then it's matte, and like, they're all cool. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes, like, if you're just in a rush and you're just looking like, okay, which one looks good? I mean, you got the box, the paint splatter, the different colors, whether it's that white, black, or kind of that brownish red, like, it's easily identifiable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, like, say, when you kind of get, sorry, Jordan, not to interrupt you, but you stack that up against like a Pro V1 box or a Callaway box, it just kind of jumps off the shelf almost in a way, which I think, as far as even like brand and marketing, just based off the box, I think most people would kind of be interested in grabbing that and checking it out. And again, it's, then you follow it up with the price point. So I love the idea behind it.
Yeah. It's, I think we're really excited, and we really have to kind of tip our cap to the other challenger brands, and, Vice is in there, and, there's many others of the sorts that have kind of paved the way to challenge the traditional brands of that we knew and grew up with. And I think that has kind of helped pave the way for new companies like ourselves, and even from the social sense, which is a large component, and you guys are big pioneers there, is how people consume golf content and what they're looking for and what resonates with them. And most importantly, the form factor, like for you guys putting out very snackable videos, or is it a meme? Is it a reel? Is it a regular post? And I think that is also a massive wave that has really kind of brought to light and progress golf in new and exciting ways. And I think you guys are at the forefront of that. And I think do an awesome job of making it accessible, growing kind of the awareness of the game, making it fun, not taking things too seriously, being kind of lighthearted, but also, quintessential golf too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It kind of stems, several years ago, but started an Instagram page right after the Masters, and was like, wow, it kind of started. It was basically just kind of giving like posting, not necessarily memes right away, but it was just different, whether it was golf courses, tournament play, Tiger Woods stuff, just pretty much anything that people in the golf community were really interested in. And the next thing you know, it really kind of started taking off. And then I was getting, companies would reach out, and it's just crazy, the community just with the social media, there's a lot of negatives in social media, but there's a lot of positives. And this is definitely one of those where I've met so many people through Instagram, social media in the golf community. I've, met people that are local here that I've played with. I've went and played different courses that I've connected with online through Instagram. So, and that was my whole goal. It's like, I started realizing like, wow, there's something really interesting and big into this, that there's a lot of people that are big golf fans and crazy golf nuts like myself. And that's kind of how it started. And then, again, it just kind of kept on taking off. And then we would kind of transition into doing the memes and the funny videos, but also trying to help other brands also kind of take off as well. And that was that again, that's kind of where my whole background was. It's like, this is just a little side gig type of deal that it's kind of my little hobby. And then it just kind of continued to grow. And we talked about this, me and Dom, we were going to college and we were in class, and then that's kind of how we connected and met, and we started playing golf. And then one day we were playing and I was like, dude, we should really start a podcast. Everyone loves podcasts and we're amateurs in the podcasting, but I think we've done a pretty decent job for just having, a mic and a computer and being able to put something out.
Well, now we have two mics.
Yeah, so so now we can kind of sit around and
growing.
But it was just that, where there's so many people that, and I love listening to different podcasts. So it's kind of that started with Instagram and it's still growing, but then now we're kind of branching off and using that Save Par Golf podcast to also
as a platform to grow the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's just different components, and it continues to transition, and everything's always constantly changing. But again, we're going to try to continue to move in those same directions of trying to continue to help. Like I said, ODIN Golf, for example, we want to get people to know who you are and kind of get your background and your story and what sets you guys apart. So that's kind of what I kind of consider Save Par Golf is we're a golf page, and for the people, we want people to kind of get a good experience and just have a good laugh, and also get some good positive information on different brands that we might.
And we're not great golfers. Derek's way better than me. We talked about that last week.
Yes, I have my days. I'm currently a 9 handicap, but I really play at about a 12. But that's currently where I'm at. I've played a lot more golf this year than I have in recent years.
I'm like a 20, but play at like a 45. Depends on the day.
Not necessarily. But yeah, and again, I'm not one I don't play in a lot of tournament play. I picked up the clubs right out of high school, at the end of high school. So I didn't play very often when I was younger. And I think that was one of the reasons was the price and just it's a tough sport. It's a tough game to play. And if you're really not set on it at that young of age, it's kind of frustrating. So
it's just, it's a mental grind.
It is.
I think explaining that to like, newer players, younger players, like I say that like I'm old, I'm 24.
Yeah, I'm older than that.
Yeah, we know. But explain to them like a lot of it is physical, and I fully get that. But a lot of it is just kind of forgetting the shot you had before, resetting, and doing it again. Whether you lost a ball or you hit the shot of your life, you kind of have to chill out.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter. It's not like other sports where there's like all these different like momentum shifts or whatever. Every shot's different, every hole's different, every course is different.
Absolutely. Well, every swing is different. And that's the beauty of the game of golf. It's, I can go out there and you could shoot a low 80s or high 70s. And then the next day you could shoot a 95. And that's the beauty of it. It's like, you shoot that mid to late 70s. You're like, oh, I think I got this figured out. It's also
the worst part about it. You're like, man, I got to figure it out. And then you shoot like 104. And you're like,
the next day you're like, what the hell did I do differently? And that's the golf. And that's why I think so many people keep coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the pursuit of the perfect strike, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, it's and I think the other thing is, and we've noticed, and I'm sure it seems like you guys have too, is that the golf community, whether it's a course or a brand or an influencer or a golf personality, everyone is incredibly receptive and not. We haven't come across anyone saying anything negative or no about what we're doing or what we're trying to do. I think it's a community of positive reception. Yes, there's the tradition of it that, we're all trying to kind of break out in a way, not in a negative sense, but in kind of a positive light, to open up the gates to, the newcomers to the game, or existing players who are still kind of missing the next phase in kind of their golf experience. So I think it's the perfect time to do it. It's going to continue to grow and go gangbusters, and this is happening globally. Obviously, the U.S. is the biggest market, but this is happening everywhere, which is super fun.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. I don't want to take too much of your time because I know it's getting late there, and I appreciate your time. I just had a couple of quick questions. One, so who's your favorite golfer, or how did you get into the game of golf? I guess I should ask.
So favorite golfer is Phil.
Philly.
Big Phil fan. And I also went to ASU. So there's a Sun Devil, bias. Well, I was going to say kinship, and
too. Yeah.
And also love Tiger, and just grow. I started playing in the mid 90s, and grew up watching the Tiger Phil rivalry, and there were a ton of other good players too. The Greg Normans, the Mark O'Mearas, the VJ Singhs, Ernie Els, etc. But I think. Yes, there's the Bryson, the Brooks feud, and there's kind of a new wave of characters, but I still miss the Tiger Phil days, and I know Phil's still around, but just the kind of the peak Tiger Phil, sharing barbs, I definitely miss. It's still fun having Phil around, just the personality, and he kind of gives that kind of late 90s early aughts vibe to it in kind of a new light, which is super fun.
Yeah, he's great for the game of golf. I was actually surprised how tall he was. He's a pretty tall guy. He's like 6'4", 6'5". He's kind of a big guy. When I saw him at the Ryder Cup at Hazeltine, I was just shocked at how tall he was.
Oh yeah. He's a big dude. And I think the other thing is him and Tiger played a certain type of ball, and then the newer players are playing. He's adapted very well, I think, especially with obviously the distance, him hitting nukes and stuff, and is part of his personality. But he's adapted very well, which is super cool.
Yeah, have you enjoyed any of those like 2-on-2 matchups with like Tom Brady, Phil, and like Peyton Manning? Did you ever watch any of those where they're playing on TV? Did you get a chance to see those matchups at all? Just kind of the fun smash, talking crap and all that. Did you get to see that?
Oh yeah, I got to see both of them. The latest one with Aaron Rodgers. And,
yeah.
I think I preferred the other one with Tiger and Peyton. It just I felt like I was missing a lot more trash talking. Like I think Bryson, he's an interesting dude, but he was too, like they would say, hey, like Bryson, talk us through that shot, and he'd do like a technical explanation, and we came for the shit talking, right?
Yeah,
and I think Aaron Rodgers was, Aaron Rodgers, I think. I get he has kind of that dry humor, but it was a little too serious for the setting. Like I wanted side bets, like Phil doing, Nassau bets or Aloha bets, and
with Charles Barkley in the background, trying to, I think that was the one with Tiger, and then where he was betting them when they're on par threes, and he just would say, I bet 500,000 or 50,000 if you'd hit if you can get it on the green and stuff like that. There really wasn't much of that trash talking going on in the last one.
Yeah, and you can tell like Phil especially was holding back a little bit. He kind of tried some to, I think, lighten it a little bit, but it was still it was. And it was fun to watch because we love golf, we're enthusiasts, but it left a lot to be desired, especially in the betting kind of trash talking. Like in that kind of setting, Like that's what you want. You don't want like another PGA Tour style event with technical analysis and stuff. We just want people shooting the shit and hitting the shit out of the ball and losing dough, right?
Exactly.
Or winning dough.
Yeah, one of the two.
I think they should get them all boozed up next time.
Yeah, they have to take a shot or two before they.
Yeah, just like not like hammered by any means, but like just, a little buzz,
take the edge off.
Yeah. Like, okay. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, like have a bar cart on, at the turn, and like
have a cart
cart, whatever. Like just they're they're having pops, they're laying down some skrill, like that's the kind of stuff we want. I don't know what they're gonna do for the next one. Hopefully they take some feedback and rejig a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be listening to the podcast, take some of our ideas.
Yeah, right? Take shots.
Mm-hmm. Here's oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Here's a question for you guys.
Yeah.
We like to ask this to people. You've been invited to play at Augusta. You can bring one PGA Tour player, one friend or family member, and one famous person. Who are you guys bringing?
That's a really good question. Now, is this a current or any type of PGA player? Could it be? I mean, obviously, I'd probably have to pick Tiger if that counts.
What a generic answer.
Well, that's who wouldn't pick Tiger though if you're a big Tiger fan.
Oh well, yeah, okay.
If you can pick anyone that's still
right,
yeah,
I'm taking Phil because I want the calves plus coffee. And I want to hit bombs.
It's a good combination.
Right.
As far as a famous person, gosh, that's a good question.
I would take somebody who like you wouldn't necessarily pick to play golf, like Kevin Garnett. I would love to play with KG1. The smack talk. If you don't know who Kevin Garnett is, you need to like learn up on NBA history, like the greatest Timberwolf ever.
Yeah. I would say MJ and Tiger Woods.
No, I want the trash talk of KG because I've heard, ask anybody in the league, KG has like the meanest trash talk out of anybody.
Yeah. No, I've heard some of his stories. That would be fun.
Right. Like I've heard Kobe has like the one-liners and that Michael just doesn't say anything. I want KG to like get in my opponent's head and go,
especially
I'm scared of this
money.
Man.
Like it's me and KG versus whoever.
And he's a 7-footer.
Yeah.
A 7-1 or something. And could you just imagine like, no, give me KG, Phil and Derek. I'm taking you.
All right. I'll take you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. But I got to take MJ and Tiger because both of them are at their prime, probably the two of the best athletes of all time.
I want like the mess though. I want the chaos.
And the fact that you're just going to Augusta.
That's what I'm saying. Imagine KG talking.
Yeah, but KG can't talk shit if he's not good at golf. Yeah. MJ and Tiger.
KG's still going to talk. Are you kidding me?
He'll just drive the cart and talk smack. Okay, so how about you? Who's your go-to?
So I would do Phil. I would do my brother, and I'd do Charles Barkley for the
commentary.
Kobe. Well, the smack talking, and then also the gambling that the two of those guys would do.
I think if we all three if those groups, I couldn't imagine finishing 18 holes if we were all like one after another with all that smack talking with all those competitive.
Would scare all of your teams. Like
Charles Barkley's swing did improve though quite a bit. I mean, that swing was atrocious.
He did. He's come a long way for sure.
So I'll give him that. I was going to ask you. So we always ask this question before we end the podcast: is if you have one go-to, if this is your last meal to eat or your favorite meal, it could be anything from at home where you're originally from or anywhere in Germany. What would be your go-to meal? Could be breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it is.
You could spend $400 at Taco Bell.
Yeah, whatever you want. What are you getting? What are you getting?
Can you combine, or is it just like here's the one slot? This is what you got.
Nobody's asked before. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, well, have a feast, and you can go to 2 different places or 3 if you want. That's a good. Nobody's really asked that. They just normally pick like a steakhouse or something.
Yeah. No, have a feast.
So I'm gonna do kind of the full slate, breakfast, lunch, dinner, just the entire day, and then
love it
and see where it goes. So for breakfast, I'd probably do a breakfast burrito with some salsa, fresh salsa in the morning. Hit the track. Lunchtime, I would do, so I'm Sicilian by background and grew up eating all the classic Italian American meals. So pasta and meatballs, lasagna, eggplant parm, chicken parm. So I'd probably do a lunch of that. And then for dinner, I would probably do like a full barbecue spread, like some ribs, pulled pork, brisket, some mac and cheese, some really, really freshly baked cornbread with some butter melting on it.
Do you want to hang out with us?
Yeah, that's literally the best food meal that I think. I don't think I could have picked a better one. That sounds amazing. Granted, I do love my Mexican. I love tacos, but
right
burrito.
Well, it's like a taco.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to breakfast. Yeah,
it's a big taco.
And definitely the pasta. Love the pasta.
Okay, yeah, no, whatever. But the barbecue. Yeah, do you want to hang out? Because I'll hang out.
That cornbread sounds good too. I love
it. Man. So what is, this is what I was wondering. So barbecue obviously has different regions and different specialties. What is it like in Minnesota? Is it a mix of the different, the South and Texas? What does that look like there? Or Kansas City, or what is it?
We don't have our own barbecue per se.
Yeah.
It's the beautiful part of Minneapolis, and one of my favorite parts of Minneapolis, is the fact that it's a big melting pot. You can go down any street in any corner and find a different ethnicity to eat.
Yeah, very diverse.
Yeah, it's very diverse. I would say we have a lot of famous Dave's. There's a place in Anoka.
Your standard barbecue, nothing like the Texas or Kansas City from the famous barbecue places. Not saying that we don't have any good ones, but
there's a place in Anoka that was on Diner Drive. It's in Dives. Q Fanatic. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been there. They're pretty good.
I've heard of Q Fanatic. Yeah.
I don't. Ordering's weird, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, and so for here, I live downtown, but I live close to called the North Loop, which is kind of very, very
urban,
but it's it's growing, but they have all sorts of cool restaurants, and some of the new places now that they've built is basically one big building, and they've essentially orchestrated 3 or 4 different restaurants in the building, and then they have a bar in the middle. So it's kind of cool. If you might be a picky eater and maybe you don't want pizza, but then there's 3 or 4 other restaurants for you to choose from. So you tend to kind of see that kind of being a little bit more common now, where it's okay, you have a really good pizza joint, some Hawaiian food or some Chinese food.
I had a really good Mexican food a couple weeks ago.
Some Mexican food. Yeah. So that's kind of there's a couple of those that have popped up within the last few years here. And so the atmosphere is awesome because you can grab a drink, and again, you can kind of just hang out pretty much anywhere throughout the bar. They got a couple where they have rooftops. So they have 3 restaurants on the bottom, 3 restaurants on top, and then a bar on below and top. So it's a really nice area. It's pretty laid back, but at the same time, it has a lot of different options. But unfortunately, we really don't have any, at least to my knowledge, fully authentic barbecue places. I'm sure there is, but nothing that I'm too familiar with.
We have a super good pie place way up north on the North Shore.
Pie?
Oh.
Cherry pie, pie.
Dessert pies.
Dessert pie.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a huge pie guy.
Ooh.
French silk's pretty good. And I will
is that a pie though?
I don't know. They call it a pie.
We get into a whole debate where technically it could be a cake.
Okay. If we want to go that route, Jordan. All right. Last question. Sorry. Is you've probably seen this all over social media. Is a hot dog or is it a sandwich?
I did come across it. Is this still? Where is this at? Actually, is this gained a lot of steam?
I don't know.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. I've never really thought about it, and I've seen it on social media, and I'm like,
it's a sandwich.
I would never call a hot dog a sandwich, but when you think about it, I don't know what the real difference is.
See, my thinking is, everyone's like, oh, well, the bread's open. Well, is a sub sandwich? That bread's open, it's just turned sideways. Why can't you turn the hot dog?
And some hot dog buns though are split already.
Yeah.
Some of the buns.
It's a sandwich.
But is it because it's not
because
round?
Of the bun.
Is it not because it's on a sandwich bun? Because they have a sandwich bun.
Well,
it's a hot dog bun.
You put a hot dog on a hoagie bun.
You could, but I'm saying when you go buy buns, it's a hot dog bun, not a sandwich bun. Most of them are. I don't know if it's because it's round, and that's just I don't know.
I like.
What's your take on that, Jordan?
I would probably say it's not a sandwich. And again, I guess it depends on your definition of a sandwich, but as you mentioned, Dom, a sandwich it's kind of enclosed, and there's toppings and stuff that's basically within the roll or whatever it's on. It's interesting here. So obviously, encased meat is massive in Germany, meat in tube form, aka. And what they do is, yes, they eat it on the plate plain without bread, but when they do eat it in bread, it's usually the sausage sticks out and there's a little piece of bread that kind of holds it together, and it's in the middle of the sausage, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's, in that case, it's completely like the sausage / hot dog is completely out of the bread. Gotcha. And I wouldn't put that in the sandwich camp. But yeah, I mean, if you do chop up a hot dog, let's say, and you put it in a French roll and it's all enclosed, then yeah, we could call that a sandwich.
Is there one place that is your go-to in Berlin there for food that you just love? Is there a spot that is kind of like, I'm just craving it, like once a week at least?
So when I was talking about the last meal with the Mexican food, the barbecue, when I first moved here, the first 3 or 4 years, and I've gotten used to it now, but the first 3 or 4 years, I was going through withdrawals for Mexican food and barbecue. And there are expats living here, and it's since gotten better since 2013. You can get a solid burger, you can get some barbecue, you can get some Mexican food. It all I call it gets the job done. Mexican gets the job done barbecue. And then when I go home, I splurge, and, I basically am doubled over in pain. But it's
catching up for lost times on the food.
Yeah, that's right. But it's definitely gotten better. I mean, you can get ribs, you can get the typical barbecue fare, you get good burgers, you can get some tacos and stuff, but it's like, eating Italian food in, Shanghai. I mean, yeah, maybe it's good, and maybe it's an Italian chef, but you want to go to Rome and eat that pasta, probably.
Still just not quite the same, or just not what, yeah.
I will say we have a really good Polish place in Minneapolis. Have you ever been to Kamarczak's? Mm-mm. Oh, so good. It's like, so it's Polish, which for a long time I thought it was a German place, so I got really excited. It's a Polish place. It's like cafeteria styled. So you get a tray and you go through and you get like sauerkraut, you get Polish, you get big old meatballs.
Really?
What's it called? Kamarczak's.
Okay, Kamarczak's. No.
It's like
they do pierogi.
They do.
Oh man, those are killer.
They do pierogies. I love their Reuben. I'm a big Reuben
nice. Guy. Oh man. Well, shit, I guess I got to come to the tournament next summer.
I know.
You got to come to the Twin Cities.
We'd love to have you. Jordan, I appreciate your time, man. I know it's getting late, so I apologize. Let's definitely try to connect a little bit further down the road. We'll have you on again if you'd like to. Maybe we can kind of talk about, once the golf balls, we can, talk more about the brand and kind of follow up.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, guys, for having me. And so I'd like to do a post of the pod on our profile, we can do like a sound wave, sound bite, teaser, and then link to the pod. It's whatever you guys want to do. We can design something for you. Just let me know, and I'd like to do it for you if you'd like.
I can actually do that, and I can email it to you.
Awesome, sounds great. Yeah, just when this is ready, let me know, and we'll repost it.
Awesome. Sounds good. Jordan, thanks again for your time, and appreciate you being on the podcast. And again, I know, like I said, you're probably way past your
bedtime.
Maybe, I don't know, but looks like it's getting late. It's already 6 here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, Jordan, thanks for your time. And for whoever's listening, ODIN Golf, check them out. ODIN Golf is, I believe, your Instagram handle, correct, Jordan?
Yeah, odin.golf, hashtag go balls out always.
Awesome. Thanks again. Have a good night. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys. Have a good one. Thanks again.
Yep.
All right, later. Bye.